Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to an impromptu Bituation Room live stream, as well as a Left Hook live stream with Wajahat Ali of Substack. I just realized that I turned on my video recording, and I hope I'm not doing the fuzzy thing. You know, Waj, when I do the fuzzy
Oh
thing?
yeah, when you get pixelated, when you go
I
back to
know,
1992.
God damn it. So just let me know, everybody, and I apologize in advance. Fuck. Anyway.
Is that happening? Maybe we could check in the comments.
No, I mean it may. It just makes my internet really unstable. It doesn't matter. This is all the BTS that you've got to become a patron or a paid Substack member to even get access to. But Waj, it's been
Nikki says, "Tell the woman she looks great," and that's an exact quote.
thank you. It's been a while, Waj, since I've had you on, and we've been on the same show talking. And the news is such a fire hose. Everything happens so quickly that
Yeah.
my little humble, one stream a week plus my deep dives all about the far right and eating each other's heads off. It's not enough. It's not enough, Watch. And I want to talk about a few things. Let's get into Donald Trump threatening the military with death if
Yeah.
they're not loyal or go against the Constitution. A little bit of who's at Dick Cheney's funeral. And then I would love to ask your thoughts on the MBS stuff quickly. And then maybe this former Obama speechwriter, Sarah Hurwitz, who is probably one of the most tone deaf people I've seen, speaking about the lessons of the Holocaust and why they're being poorly applied while arguably another Holocaust plays out in Gaza and the West Bank. But first, everybody, hit the like button, share the stream, send us super chats, comments, become subscribers of Waj's show, The Left Hook, as well as my show, The Bituation Room. I just want to plug up top, Waj. I did a 40-minute deep dive into the right civil war over Israel because I don't know if you know, but just as Israel's become a wedge issue for Democrats, it's a wedge issue for Republicans now, too. And after Nick Fuentes was interviewed by Tucker Carlson, and they openly sort of talked about, Israel this and Israel that. And Nick Fuentes went a few steps farther into it's organized Jewry that is the problem. A lot of Zionists on the right and conservatives are realizing that, oh no, we've given rise to a lot of anti-Semitism coming from all the white nationalists that are in our base and all the
Whoopsie.
grocers. Oopsie.
I
So
I
it's
I'm so
incredible.
happy you did that excellent video. Something that not only for the past 2 years I've been talking about, but for the past 10 years, I've been telling some of these institutional leaders, some of the people that I know, some of the progressive on everything except Palestine, some of the I'm a liberal Zionist, and some of the more outright Zionists. I'm like, listen, you're always worried about Palestinians and Muslims and Arabs. And folks, let's be honest, they just sweep us all together. Like we're all Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, right? All the Browns. Keeping it
Mm-hmm.
real. This has been the story of my life. Doesn't matter if you're Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Mehdi Hassan, federal judge Manji, Mahmoud Khalil. We're all terrorists
That's
and
right.
extremists. So they made the political calculation. Hey, these white Christian evangelicals, they love Israel. Jews, not so much. But we don't believe in their stupid story. So we'll use them and they'll use us. They believe that we, the Jews, need to control Jerusalem in order for Jesus to come back and kill us. That shit's never going to happen. But guess what? White Christian evangelicals, they're our base now. That's Netanyahu's base. And they love the Republicans and we love them. And they also hate Muslims and Palestinians. Awesome. What I've been telling for 10 years, actually
Yeah.
14 years, Francesca, because I did this report called Fear Incorporated, The Roots of the Islamophobia Network in America. It came out in 2011. I said, yo, these people who hate Muslims, they also hate Latinos, they hate LGBTQ, they hate women, and wait for it, they hate the Jews.
Yep.
And then I remember 2.5 years ago, I believe we talked about this. I've been trying to raise the alarm about Nick Fuentes. I'm like, yo, Donald Trump is dining with Nick Fuentes and post anti-Semite pre-Nazi Kanye West. All y'all gonna renounce this? And they're like, that's okay. Donald Trump back then, when he was asked, Francesca, did not renounce Nick Fuentes. A Guardian article wrote that he realized a part of his base was groypers, so he didn't do it. They still went along with it.
Yep.
And now, voila, like I've said, I'm going to break this prediction. The present and future of the GOP ain't Ben Shapiro. It ain't Mark Levine. It ain't Laura Loomer. It's Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And folks, they don't love the Jews. And ain't me and Francesca saying it 2 days ago. Laura Loomer said on Twitter, I think the GOP has a Nazi problem. So, in summation, face eating leopards, love eating faces, especially Jewish MAGA faces.
I mean, and this is my point that I made on the video was like, for this entire time since, the current iteration of the ethnic cleansing in Gaza, right, which is, again, has reached genocidal stages, but has been ongoing, we've heard nothing but from the right that all the Jews who are in the streets protesting for Palestinian human rights, that they are actually bad. They're
Yep.
actually Hamas sympathizers.
Yep.
They're terrorists. They're the bad Jews, right? And then, meanwhile, they're like, but we're the good Jews, right? And you totally make the distinction. Like, and it's like, no, they don't make the distinction. They lump all like white Nazis, white nationalists and Nazis. Like, hello, 2017 Charlottesville called and wants you to pay attention to what the F happened there. Nick Fuentes is a product of the Unite the Right rally. We all thought that they made their little debut and then, scurried back into their holes.
Nope.
No, they didn't. No, they did not. People like Nick Fuentes only rose higher. And the best part is that the person, since Charlie Kirk was murdered, who has benefited the most from his absence is not the state of Israel. It's Nick Fuentes. And he is, many articles have been written about how he is taking up the mantle. So you are 100% right. I hope that, especially for those people who like see some Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson clips or Nick Fuentes clips and are like, damn, these seem kind of based. They're kind of right about Israel. I hope you will watch the video and understand that they absolutely are not based. Their hateful ideology, sadly, perpetuates and continues into the issue of Israel as well. It is really not about foreign policy in the way that you and I, and human rights in the way that you and I think of it.
Francesca, before you move on, because I think
Yeah.
it's very important, and I think that video you did is very important because, folks, exactly what Francesca said. I cannot tell you how many times over the past 2 years I've had people who, they're busy. They're not as politically literate as me and Francesca because they're not masochists. I've been getting clips of Candace Owens. I've been getting clips of Nick Fuentes. I've been getting clips of Tucker Carlson saying, hey, man, look, they're more pro-Palestinian than Democrats.
Yes.
They're saying something fantastic. I got a clip yesterday from a friend, a Candace Owens clip saying, oh, man, Candace is awesome. I'm like, did you see the rest of the show? Look, this Nick Fuentes guy. Yeah, he's a troll, but he's fantastic on Palestine. I'm like, he's a Nazi.
Yeah.
And this is where, if I may, the Democrats, I wanted a warning to the Democrats. You cannot escape Gaza. This is a litmus test issue. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, they ain't stupid. They realize this is a Gaza generation. They realize people around the world have been radicalized on this issue. They are courting the independents and the disaffected. They're further to the left on this issue and more correct on Palestine than the Democratic establishment that still bear hugs AIPAC. And if you just want to dismiss them, you're making a mistake, folks, because this is the present and future of the GOP after Cankles dies.
Yep.
Pay attention to how they're going to go after the disaffected, young people, some Democrats even, people who are pissed off by the genocide, and some independents. They're going to the left on the economy and on Israel-Palestine. Very dangerous.
Very dangerous. And I think you are 100% correct in terms of this is squarely on Democrats to be able to nip this in the bud, to change course when it comes to, breathless support of Israel, to actually advocate for ending, U.S. aid to the country, especially military aid. So this is, if we actually are serious about stopping anti-Semitism, we have to be serious about stopping our support for Israel, because yes, there are people who are also licking their chops on this. And look, Nick Fuentes has openly said, I don't care about the GOP losing in 2028.
Yep.
Because he knows that they will be regrouping for, 2032. and beyond. So like they're willing to burn the GOP down if it means supplanting it with a complete all out Groyper Nazi party. Anyway, now that this video has been thoroughly demonetized, this is also very relevant, Waj, to what the Democrats should and should not be doing. This is a woman who is her name is Sarah Hurwitz, and she was speaking at the Jewish Federation of North America. It says she's here, an author. She was also a speechwriter for Barack Obama, I believe, for a year, and a speechwriter for Michelle Obama for even longer. So someone who's very much been on the inside of, the Beltway and been in sort of a darling of Democrats. Listen to how she talks about what's wrong with our current discourse around Israel and Gaza and what's been happening. And I want you to remember, this sounds a lot like your boy, not no one's boy, but Van Jones and his
not my boy.
Not my boy, but his little dead baby Diddy remarks about how it's social media doing this. Take a listen.
I think that since October 7th, but really before then, there have been huge shifts in America on how people think about Jews and Israel. And I think
just really quickly, small note. She has written notes down for this. She's not going off the dome, you guys. She's thought about this.
That is especially true of young people. So we are now wrestling with a new, I think, generational divide here. And I think that's particularly true in that social media is now our source of media. And this, it used to be that the media you got in America was American media, and it was pretty mainstream. It generally didn't express extreme anti-Israel views. You had to go to a pretty weird bookstore to find global media and fringe media. But today, we have social...
Shout out to St. Mark's Books.
...social media, which is a global medium, right? It is shaped, its algorithms are shaped by billions of people worldwide who don't really love Jews. And so while in the 1990s, a young...
Shaped by people worldwide who don't love Jews, or shaped by Palestinians currently being bombed to smithereens by the state of Israel? I mean, whichever. Anyway, here we go. We're getting to her point.
Person probably wasn't going to find Al Jazeera or someone like Nick Fuentes. Today, those media outlets find them. They find them on their phones. It's also this...
Equating Fuentes and Al Jazeera.
Increasingly post-literate media. Less and less text, more and more videos. So you have TikTok just smashing our young people's brains all day long with video of carnage in Gaza. And this is why so many of us can't have a sane conversation with younger Jews, because anything that we try to say to them, they are hearing it through this wall of carnage. So I want to give data and information and facts and arguments, and they are just seeing in their minds carnage.
I want to give data and information and facts and my talking points about how no Jew in the world would be safe without the state of Israel. And all they want to do is show me dead babies. And I'm like, oh my God, babe, we're having a different conversation. And you're just like, what are you saying right now? You're saying it might be a good thing if young people are immune to your talking points because they're seeing dead children and families and people in tents. Like, maybe that's good. Maybe we should address the carnage first, and then maybe we can get to some points you might want to make. So here she is effectively doing the Van Jones dead baby argument about social media, but there's more.
And I sound obscene. And
you do sound obscene.
Yes.
You do sound obscene. Here we go.
Correct.
And I sound obscene. This wall of carnage. So I want to give data and information and facts and arguments, and they are just seeing in their minds carnage, and I sound obscene. And, I think, unfortunately, the very smart, bet that we made on Holocaust education to serve as anti-Semitism education, in this new media environment, I think that is beginning to break down a little bit. Because, Holocaust education is absolutely essential. But I think it may be confusing some of our young people about anti-Semitism because they learn about big, strong Nazis hurting weak, emaciated Jews. And they think, oh, anti-Semitism is like anti-Black racism, right? Powerful white people against powerless Black people. So when on TikTok all day long they see powerful Israelis hurting weak, skinny Palestinians, it's not surprising that they think, oh, I know, the lesson of the Holocaust is you fight Israel. You fight the big, powerful people hurting the weak people.
This is...
Wow.
absolutely wild. She's saying that no, the lesson of the Holocaust wasn't, powerful, uh, maiming, killing, genociding the weak. The lesson was don't maim, kill, or genocide Jewish people. It's like, I'm sorry, excuse me, what? Like this again, and I talk about this with Matt a lot. I want you to jump into with your thoughts, but Matt and I talk about this a lot about the exceptionalism of anti-Semitism and how when we put it, and when I think a lot of Zionists ask us to put it in this specialized category that is separate from anti-Black racism, that is separate from Islamophobia, that is special and apart, that in and of itself is anti-Semitic. It's and very supremacist. And I feel like saying the word Jewish supremacist, people like, again, we don't want to get into Nick Fuentes territory, but it really does feel like you want us to treat Jewish people like they bleed different, they're very different, that what they went through should only be applied to other Jews. It's only a Holocaust if it's Jewish people dying. But my God, how small-minded, how empty we are if that is the lesson of the Holocaust.
It's the word supremacy, I think, is the correct one. And there's white supremacy, there's Hindu supremacy, there's Muslim supremacy, and this is Jewish supremacy. And supremacists around the world are pretty much the same, right? They believe that their suffering is unique. They believe that they're being threatened by others. Their feelings take precedence over your actual pain and suffering, and they need to be made to feel secure, and they cannot suffer from the anxiety. And as such, because they are, say, the master race or the chosen people, then they are the ones who cannot possibly be the barbarians or the violent heathens. That's you.
Right.
Their job is to civilize you and tame you and keep you in check, and then see whether or not you can meet their civilizational standard and then be accepted into polite society. This is what every colonialist has ever said, any white supremacist has said, any Jewish supremacist. If you go to Israel, literally the settlers talk to me like this: we'll consider giving the Palestinians freedom when they can show us that they'll be safe. I'm like, well, you could also take your boot off their neck. Oh, no, but that makes me feel uncomfortable. Why does that make you feel uncomfortable? Because if I take my boot off their neck, they might kill me. Well, they might kill you because you have your boot on your neck. But if you take the boot off the neck, maybe they'll just be free. That's the same thing that the British said against the Indians. That's the same thing white slavers said against Black people. And that is what's happening in Israel. Folks, I know people might not like hearing this. I've gone there 3 times. It has gone even further and further to the right. It's one of the most polled societies on earth. When it comes to Netanyahu, yeah, a majority of Israeli society hates Netanyahu. When it comes to Palestinians and when it comes to what's happening in Palestinians' occupied territories, 80% of Israeli society is fine with it. It reminds me what, like, when you talk to Black people when they were in the South during segregation, it's the same mindset. And, I've been there, Francesca. Have you ever gone there?
I have not.
I could tell you my blue passport, me being Pakistani, me speaking English, it didn't matter. In some places, people looked at me, they saw Muslim, they thought I was Palestinian. We got kicked out of cabs. We got kicked out of souks. I got assaulted by the IDF for simply standing. A lady spit at me because I was walking with a hijabi woman. Other people were very nice as well. But the type of confidence with which you can be cruel reflects the type of supremacy that animates the Trump administration, also animates Benjamin Netanyahu, and also now the unpacking of this, right? Because you have to unpack years and years of, we have trauma, we were victims, there was Holocaust, it's us against the world. But what happens when you have become the oppressor and the occupier, and you've become the baddie? And instead of actually saying, oh shit, we've become the baddie, Israel is oppressing people, people have been radicalized in real time, they don't hate us because we're Jews, they hate a genocide, they can't reconcile with that, they can't confront it. So then you get this obscene, absurd mental gymnastic display from an otherwise really smart woman. Sorry for my rant.
No, I think that's a perfect rant. And I think it is really important to remember. I mean, look, there are people who still defend Israel and they've never been. Like, they've never seen up close the apartheid. They've never seen up close the 2 different systems, one for Palestinians and, one for Israelis, the separate roads, the separate, water systems, all on and on and on and on. I mean, and so I think there's another, to finish this conversation out, Democrats also need to understand that they cannot fight fascism in the United States and racism and a white ethno state that is being carried out by ICE here, while simultaneously supporting an ethno state in Israel and
Amen.
simultaneously supporting apartheid and separation there. And I think Emma Vigeland has made that point really, really great. I highlighted that. She was on Crooked Media recently. It shows Democrats' entire ass when you do that, because people, young people aren't just stopping at Gaza, right? They're not just going like, gee, this is bad. They're learning more and more. I mean, again, there's a reason that college students led this charge. They had the time and space and resources to crack a book open, listen to a professor, and they are becoming politicized, not because this is a political issue, but because they are understanding the history and the power imbalance and the colonialism of it all. So anyway, it is a
And
litmus
also,
test.
I know you have to switch over, but look at the failure. It's 2025. The three sharpest tongues, if you will, the most eloquent individuals who have a quip for everything. When it comes to this issue, they stutter. Gavin Newsom, I find it interesting, Van Lathan, you're asking me this question. I find it interesting. Cory Booker, well, I find it interesting, Jennifer Welsh, that
I
you're
take
asking
a
me this
lot of
question.
money from many different places, not just AIPAC. Oh, what is it?
And then Pete Buttigieg has an answer for everything except this. This is a litmus test issue for any Democrat who wants to have national power. What is your stance on genocide? Are you still sucking at the teat of AIPAC? If you are, I predict in 2028 you will see the Democratic base reject you. Francesca.
And I think Zoran Mamdani paved the way, right? I think, I know there's a lot of drums about, whether he supports a challenge to Hakeem Jeffries and all this, but I do think the one thing he was able to nail is he turned that, trap of a question, do you believe in Israel's right to exist, completely on its head. He flipped the script and said, I believe it has a right to exist as a democratic nation, as a nation that respects human rights. That is the kind of country that I would support. And now that brings us to, I know I said we talk about Cheney, and maybe we will, but I have to just play this clip because Waj, we are in a moment, maybe before I bring this in, let's just remember, we're in a moment where we know that Donald Trump had a relationship with Epstein, that Epstein was the one, according to him, who could take Donald Trump down. And we know that Epstein was back channeling, not just with people like Steve Bannon and Michael Wolff to tell all about Trump, but also was back channeling with people like Democrat Stacey Plaskett in her line of questioning against Michael Cohen, someone else who was actively trying to take down Trump. Epstein was plotting against Trump, and we are now supposed to believe that no foul play happened when Trump's FBI arrested Epstein and seized all the documents from Epstein's home, and no foul play happened when on the Trump watch, Epstein met his self-inflicted demise. Sure. And this is how, look, I'm going to replay the whole of this because there's a lot to get through, but this is how, if we're not supposed to believe that any foul play happened, here is Trump's response to the foul play that happened when the Saudi government kidnapped, drugged, and killed and dismembered a journalist in their embassy. And this was Trump's response about that journalist, and as he's sitting next to MBS.
Who was president? There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion. That I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen, but he knew nothing about it.
Okay. You're talking about a gentleman who was quite controversial. Some people liked him. Some people didn't like him. And you know what? Things happen. And He had nothing to do with it. Waj, you could word for word take this being about Jamal Khashoggi and Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, I'm sorry to his family to even equate them, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Someone was offed because they were inconvenient, and things happen.
I'm really glad you're playing this, and there's a lot to play in that clip, but I think we have to focus on that. The things happen. Just stick with that, because the things happen is what a sociopath says. A things happen is what a narcissist said. A things happen is what a nihilist says. Hey, there was a nuclear war, everyone died, but hey, things happen. Hey, SNAP benefits ran out, but guess what? I have $5 billion in crypto. Things happen. Hey, Venezuelan fisherman died. Whoopsie, we made a mistake. Things happen. Hey, a lot of girls got raped, but guess what? I had a fantastic time in the 90s. Things happen. Jamal Khashoggi was a U.S. journalist who went to a Saudi embassy in Turkey. He was killed as he was being dismembered. He was killed because he had the audacity as a journalist to turn on Saudi Arabia and the MBS regime. MBS could not tolerate it, so he killed this journalist. And then, by the way, they effed up the cover-up. Turkey has the video.
Yep.
The RCIA during Donald Trump's first administration concluded that MBS knows about it. Even MBS, if you watch the rest of the clip, he seems kind of embarrassed. He doesn't say, I didn't do anything. He didn't say that. Donald Trump went out of his way to throw Jamal Khashoggi under the bus, to dehumanize him, to say, well, some people didn't like him. Well, some people don't like you. Does that mean it's okay for you to be kidnapped, say, in Qatar and dismembered? The answer, he probably would say things happen. And then furthermore, what
It's a
doesn't
mob thing to say, Waj. Just
It's-
like it's
things
a mob
happen.
thing to say.
Hey, things happen. If you open up your mouth, things happen. And then also what he says, he goes out of his way, he admonishes the US journalist, a woman, yet again, a day after calling another woman piggy. He lies about MBS's involvement. Even MBS knows he killed Jamal Khashoggi. He throws Jamal Khashoggi under the bus, which means he'll throw anybody under the bus for the right price. And then he says, MBS is fantastic on human rights. This man tortured women who simply wanted human rights. He killed Jamal Khashoggi. There's no dissidents. And he did a red wedding coup to gain power a week after Jared Kushner left and gave him the green light in the first term
Dude, okay, so
administration.
just explain a little bit more, because I saw you sadly on Piers Morgan talking about the
I'm
red
sorry.
wedding. I mean, this is when MBS basically locked members of his own family in their hotel rooms and like forced them to leave the country. Explain how he coalesced, consolidated his power.
There was a power grab. Mohammed bin Salman, after consulting with Jared Kushner, who was there visiting, and according to reports, gave him not only the green light, but gave him names of people to subdue and oppress. Jared Kushner leaves less than a week later. Mohammed bin Salman then does, if you will, a soft coup, locks fellow family members, people who might be against him, in a hotel, pretty much puts the pressure on them, says, okay, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. You submit, bend the knee to me and my rule. You give over some assets. If you don't, you either disappear or I take all your money. Less than a few days later, all of them say, I love Mohammed bin Salman, the greatest ruler. A red wedding coup, just like that. And then the first trip that the Donald Trump administration, the first term, remember where they all went? Saudi Arabia. And then guess who got $2 billion investment from the Saudis for his strange firm that does nothing? Jared Kushner.
Public Investment Fund and the private equity shop named Affinity Partners, by the way. And that was in 2021. And yes, then in 2022 and 2020, as Trump was out of office, there was a lot of Gulf shit happening between the Saudis
and the
Trump.
Witkoffs just got $1.5 billion, both the father and the son. Saudi Arabia has bought up
The
Gulf.
Witkoffs did?
Yeah, so the Gulf states have just given this big story that people missed up on, that they were there. They got 1.5 billion, and then also let's remember that MBS famously said, "I have Jared in my back pocket."
I mean, like, I don't want to be the, hey, the Saudi government funded we're the backers of the 9/11 attacks. But they were, right? Like, I mean, what are we talking about here? Like,
He's also a dictator. He's also a brutal dictator that killed a U.S. journalist, and our president didn't give a shit because he got paid off. And he's like, welcome. And all the Islamophobia, the anti-Muslim bigotry, Zoran Mamdani bringing the Islamic Caliphate. Hey, if you're a billionaire and if you give Donald Trump money, he'll sell AI to you. Hell, David Ellison is there, hardcore Zionist, hater of Palestinians, was there at the dinner. David Ellison, who gobbled up Paramount, David Ellison's daddy, who gobbled up TikTok, and now they're trying to gobble up Warner Brothers Discovery. Guess who was kissing up to the Saudis and MBS? That David Ellison, because David Ellison wants to go in with Saudis to buy up CBS and, Warner Brothers Discovery. So congratulations. We're just going to sell Warner Brothers, CNN to Saudis. Sorry for my rant.
This is just so funny because we start talking about like, hey, when Zionists are flooding our government with a bunch of money, it doesn't, reflect well on, the Jews in general. Like, it's pretty bad. And now it's like, it's amazing how exempt from Islamophobia the Saudis are, which is good. We should not attack them for being Muslim. We should not attack them for being religious. We should attack them for being, yes, the authoritarian, really repressive, the things, the human rights violations. That's what we should attack them for. It doesn't have to do with their religion. But it's just so funny because, like, here we are left like parsing. Like, do you just, as to your point, you see what you just did to Zoran for being Muslim? You see what you did? You see what the fucking Ellisons, like, these are people who are like, oh no, we're gonna do some cartoons making it look like Zoran's the 9/11 attackers. Here you have the actual 9/11 attackers. I mean, the country where they came from, and it's like, I don't want to play into Islamophobia, but holy shit, can you not see this double standard?
No, and look at Qatar. Donald Trump himself criticized Hillary Clinton because she got a donation for the 2016 election from like some Saudi billionaire, right? And so there was so much pressure that Hillary Clinton had to return. Folks, remember that she had to return the donation. And then Donald Trump said, Qatar funds terrorism, they fund Hamas.
Yes.
And he said that you can see the clip. He said it openly. Oh, Qatar wants to have a resort in Doha, a Trump resort, and Qatar wants to give me a $400 million plane. Hey, Qatar, whatever it is, come by. Hey, you want to train in Idaho? I'll give you air facility. Qatar.
It's funny because when Kushner was more close to UAE, and they were all really pissed at Qatar for like its soft power and for like Jazeera and other shit. Like they got Jazeera labeled as like a foreign, or they almost got it labeled as like a foreign agent. And like Kushner was all up in that deal, making sure that they were trying to oust Qatar. And Qatar was like, well, okay, we'll just buy him off too. Like that'll be our strategy.
Anyway. But the sheer naked hypocrisy, you said I was on Piers Morgan yesterday, folks, it was wild. I've had to, which is fine, like the rest of us, endure Islamophobia, anti-Muslim bigotry since the war on terror. It's been so naked, so disgusting. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Keith Ellison, and now Zoran Mamdani. And these Republicans, there were these two Republican reeks on with me, Chris Rufo and Buck Sexton, who've been all in with the Islamophobia, the fear-mongering on Mamdani. And I, as the Muslim, was saying, maybe we shouldn't let Saudi Arabia, and specifically this tyrant, buy up American democracy and American institutions, and maybe we should hold them accountable. And they were like, no, this is fantastic. Come on down, Saudi Arabia.
You should really have just said, I mean, did you point out the hypocrisy? Because I do think you should have been like, okay, imagine he's the MBS wants to run for mayor and he's a democratic socialist and wants to give everyone universal childcare. Does that change anything for you?
Well, Piers closed the show, but that was my second point. The first point I made was, wow, I've been waiting 24 years for Republicans to embrace Islam and Muslims and embrace the Islamic takeover. And then Buck and Chris's face like started contorting. I'm like, thank you for finally embracing Islam. And Piers was like, okay, that's the show.
But they basically, and again, people in the comments are pointing out it's just about being rich. And look, rules don't apply to rich people.
There you go.
Their own propaganda does not apply. Propaganda is for the pigs. Propaganda is for the rubes to, lure in with their Islamophobia. But, they can like be buddy and best friends with Muslims. That's totally fine. And, you know, because it doesn't apply to them, because they're rich enough to X themselves out of their own bullshit matrix that they've created. Just before we go, we should wrap it a little bit.
We gotta talk about Cheney.
I mean, I think we should do the Cheney. Okay, so Dick Cheney is dead, and I'm sorry if you're hearing this for the first time and you don't have a bottle of champagne ready. You know, I apologize. But yes, he is, as I say, enjoying hell way too much. It's actually not punishment for him. Like, all of his favorite people are there. He loves it. But here is, again, every time sort of a awful person dies, and okay, whatever, vice president, that was like his 5th job. Number 1 was like torturer, you know, weapons dealer, you know, like fucking war profiteer. Like, those are his first few roles. Yeah, okay, vice president. And here you have all the who's at the funeral. You got Bush, obviously, and Laura. You've got Al Gore doing a little head nod. Hey, there's a little head nod over to the guy who he should have fought at all when his election was stolen from. You got Biden over here. Biden and Jill next to Vice President Harris. Everyone's having a great time. Oh, who's that?
Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's alive.
Wait, okay, first of all, Mitch McConnell's alive. But that's not that. There he is, Mitch McConnell and Elaine still together, going strong.
Pence is alive.
Who's this guy?
Pence.
That's Vice President Mike Pence, back from the grave. I'm so glad he's decided to stick his neck out in this dire time for our democracy to be at a dead war criminal's funeral. Just incredible stuff here. Everyone's got to be cordial and unwrap, you know, cough drops for one another.
I think that's... Sorry, continue, Francesca.
Well, there is a little bit more, but please give me your thoughts.
I think that was I'm glad you brought up that video, and that encapsulates the problem. It's a big club and we ain't in it. It's a broligarchy. The town protects its own. It doesn't matter if you're a war criminal who engineered the most disastrous foreign policy decision of our lifetime. You and I were young students. We marched against the war. Over 1 million people were killed. Dick Cheney profited off it through Halliburton, private military firms. American soldiers died. They engineered fake evidence to go to a war. They killed Iraqis. They killed Afghans. They droned Somalis and Yemenis. They passed the Patriot Act. They created ICE. They created the military-industrial complex that Donald Trump is now using against the rest of us. They did NCERS, a Muslim registry. The Islamophobia that ran rampant thanks to the GOP was used by Donald Trump. And according to Spencer Ackerman, without the war on terror and the Islamophobia of that Bush administration, the neocons, Donald Trump would never become president. This man should be in The Hague. This man should be mocked and ridiculed for life. This man should have been tried and arrested for war crimes, just like all the other engineers and architects of the war on terror. I stand by that. Instead, what happened, and I'm saying this again, I know it's painful for people to hear, they all failed up. The 2008 economic crisis, all the engineers failed up. And this is what's going to happen. What you just saw right now, that's the divide, folks. None of those people are our friends. I'll say it again. None of those people are
let me put up even some more faves, maybe. This is at the funeral.
Jesus.
That's Anthony Fauci. That's Rachel Maddow.
Jesus.
I mean,
I didn't see this.
That's Carville, right? We all knew that. We don't give a shit about Carville. That's Hillary Clinton, I believe. I think I know that profile. Like, what is Rachel Maddow doing at Dick Cheney's funeral?
The rich are their own tribe, Francesca. The rich are their own tribe.
You don't have to go. You could also not go. Like, that's always an option. I know you're going to see like friends or whatever, but like, unless it's for a report or she's talking to people, which it doesn't seem like she is. I mean, again, this does not undo, like, I'm like, Fauci, what are you doing? This doesn't undo Fauci or Fauci's good work, but you're a little bit like, you know what's a bad look? You at Dick Cheney's funeral.
Absolutely. And you know, I've said this for 10 years now because I'm an American and I knew this would happen. I said this 25 years ago. Once Dick Cheney dies, this is what will happen. This is what happened. Look at George W. Bush. Look how the media treats him. Here's an eccentric old painter who gives Michelle Obama toffee. What do you think they're gonna do to Donald, Francesca?
Oh God. Oh
Exactly.
God. I
Exactly,
mean,
folks.
yes, and no one is going to ruin the just absolute bender. The amount of drugs I'm going to do, the like the screaming like a banshee in the middle of the night in a desert. Like I will do a whole rave when that man croaks. I
Mama,
cannot
what are
wait.
you doing? Mama needs to do some cocaine. I'll talk to you later
Mama
about
needs
it.
to
You'll
do
learn.
all of the acid. Thank you. Mama needs to get real happy. Mama's
Is
gonna be,
Baba
I'm
is
like,
Baba tripping? Yes, he is. You'll learn about it one day. Just
I mean, look, if we ever get there, and I don't want, I don't want to put the cart before the horse or anything. But yeah, is really wild. And I was talking to Jasper Craven, who's a journalist who wrote a whole piece about Pete Hegseth. And it's very
yeah.
interesting to see that Pete Hegseth and like Ron DeSantis and like JD Vance and some of these people who are currently in power are not actually the isolationists that their MAGA base might otherwise think. These guys, I mean, like Pete Hegseth is a rabid, like pro-war secretary of war now, crazy Islamophobe, wanted to see more action in Iraq, wants to get all the war criminals back into his cabinet, I mean, and into his administration. He like these are the psychos. It's not like MAGA left behind the neoconservatives. They just
Nope.
lifted up the guys who like they don't want a nation build. They don't like they just want to go kill. You know what I mean? And it is like, it is a scary times, and now Donald Trump is threatening to punish any seditious behavior. If
Mm.
you in the military and you refuse any orders given to you to like, I don't know, go open fire on American citizens who are trying to exercise their right to vote or police them or, go attack a blue city. It's seditious behavior punishable by death. This was Donald Trump being triggered by a video that Democrats in Congress put out to say, look, we understand it's a hard time to be in the military. You have a duty and you can refuse to comply with orders that are unconstitutional, like being deployed or aggressing upon the American people. So punishable by death.
Hey, Francesca, things happen.
Things happen.
Things
It
happen.
would be a shame if something happened to the military. Wajahad Ali, thank you for joining me for this brief but glorious little live stream. You go be a dad. I'll go eat my food and be a mom. And where can people find your God? You're like the king of DM slides. I could tell.
I wish.
No, the people that you pull for your show, though.
Yeah, I think it's because like it's 1 degree of separation. I think they mistake me for Mehdi, and then once they get on, they're like, "Who's this?" And I'm like, "My name is Wajahat Ali," and they're like, "What's a?
Surprise!
Did you say Warbalot?" I'm like, "Sure, Warbalot." I think that's what happens. But you can see it's the left hook. I'm a tired dad. I got to take my girls to Wicked for good. The women won out in my family, so we're gonna go see Wicked. But we have really great conversations, and I'm just happy I was finally able to talk to someone about Dick Cheney because it's been bothering me all day. And we're of a certain age where we came to political consciousness during the war on terror. It's a
Yes.
watershed moment for people like you and me. And you cannot gaslight me about the war on terror. You cannot gaslight me about the neocons. You cannot gaslight me about Dick Cheney. And to see that pathetic display reveals to me that the broligarchy, the town will protect its own. The corporate media, the politicians, the wealthy will protect their own, which is why more and more I see that and I'm like, we need the type of generational change and energy. We need the more Mamdanis, the AOC. We need more radicals because they need to fear us, Francesca. They
Yep.
need to know that if you're not on the right side of history, you're not going to get this hagiography from our generation. We're going to shit on you and your legacy, and we're going to piss on your grave. Figuratively.
Yes. Oh my God. Where is Cheney's grave? Like because like they will have like some sort of piss protection system for Dick Cheney's grave. They haven't figured it out yet. Just like they kept him alive for like 20 years with no heart, they'll figure out how to do like a pee protection system for his grave. Thank you to Moondragon. Thank you to Rachel Atwood, who says America's Unhinged season 2? ?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Tracy Ava, some fans and friends. Thank you, Bradley, for the super chat. And thank you to Ginger and Everything. MAGA and Dems have the same sociopathy, just different methods. They won't stop till we've rolled back capitalism to chattel slavery fueled feudalism. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and the Dems will be like, well, we have to go back to feudalism. I mean,
Think about this. We need to win over Chet.
Let's compromise with Jim Crow. Should we compromise and go back to Jim Crow?
You know what, though, folks? It's a good point. Listen, they would rather Kamala Harris was told to bear hug the Cheneys and drop kick a pro-Palestinian activist. and they still haven't learned. They still haven't learned. So I want you to think about, look what they did to Mamdani. They still haven't learned, which is why we have the numbers and have to put the pressure on them. And if they won't change, we're going to get rid of you. We're going to cull you, and you're going to be out. You're going to be done.
Absolutely. God, they cannot retire or die fast enough. I mean, truly. Waj, thank you so much. You're the best. Everybody do all the things, click all the buttons, send all the love, and we will see you next time. Bye.